There are serious questions this morning about what's being done to prevent fraud within the $42 billion National Disability Insurance Scheme. Amid revelations, criminals are manipulating participants to buy drugs, holidays and new cars.
Federal Parliament has heard at least 5% of the scheme's spending wasn't on genuine need, and in some cases the agency has had to move participants to different locations to escape harassment from criminals. Well, let's go straight to political reporter Evelyn Manfield for more, who is at Parliament House for us this morning. Evelyn, these are some pretty serious revelations. Tell us what we know.
Well, officials have told Senate estimates that the courts just can't keep up with the number of cases where criminals are exploiting participants on the NDIS scheme. So we've heard specific examples of people who are taken to an ATM, required or told that they need to take out cash, and then that cash is being used to buy drugs. Other examples of fraud include a $20,000 holiday and someone buying a car worth more than $70,000. So the NDIA, the agency which runs the scheme, it told Senate estimates that these organised crime syndicates are doing this by setting up dodgy provider businesses or posing as support coordinators. And the harassment towards some of the participants on this scheme has been so bad by criminals that participants have actually had to move locations. Take a listen to some of this evidence before Senate estimates.
I have spoken to very recently a participant who would meet the provider at the ATM. The provider would withdraw cash and provide that cash to the participant for her to source illicit substances. The volume of the material that we've got in those cases is very significant. We're not talking in the dozens or hundreds of participants, we're talking significantly higher. And these are providers that are going out of their way to put people in harm's way.
So the NDIA has also claimed as part of this hearing that at least 5% of the scheme's spending wasn't being spent on genuine needs. Now, the Minister for this all, Bill Shorten, he says that the good times are over for the crooks, but he does say there are more than 220 investigations underway and 20 prosecutions before the court. And we do know that the federal government is moving towards requiring all NDIS providers to be registered in order to take part in the scheme.
All right, Evelyn Manfield, thank you.
India's Prime Minister has claimed victory in the country's election, but the performance of Narendra Modi's party, the BJP, has fallen well short of expectations. The ABC South Asia correspondent Meghna Bali filed this from New Delhi.
I am outside the BJP's headquarters in the heart of Delhi, where the atmosphere is absolutely electric and jubilant. Now, just a few moments ago, Prime Minister Narendra Modi took to social media to claim victory, clinching a third consecutive term in power that returns him back to government for another 5 years. Now, these weren't the numbers that Mr. Modi, the BJP and his allies were hoping for. They started the campaign with a war cry to win 400 seats. Now, they haven't been able to achieve that. In fact, the BJP hasn't even been able to crack the 272 magic number that allows them to govern in their own right. But that has not stopped supporters and workers from coming out here and celebrating.
Meghna Bali reporting there. There's a bit going on in India at the moment. Some of the coverage of the election is extraordinary. The colour, the movement, the supporters on the streets.
Yeah, and they get a huge turnout as well.
640 or something votes. It's a lot of counting. Anyway, moving on. Australia has abandoned plans to add Tomahawk missiles to its ageing naval fleet of Collins-class submarines as part of scheduled upgrades. The program to extend the life of the fleet will be rolled out from 2026.
New figures out of the Department of Social Services have revealed that plans to boost the number of domestic violence support workers have fallen well short of targets. The federal government promised to spend about $160 million over 4 years to fund 500 positions, while states and territories promised to fill 352 jobs by the end of May. But Only 63 workers have been hired since that pledge.
A teenage driver accused of causing the death of the South Australian Police Commissioner's son has had a charge of causing death by dangerous driving downgraded. Dhiren de Randhawa was driving a car which struck Charlie Stevens near Goolwa Beach, south of Adelaide, in November last year. He pleaded guilty to the lesser charge of driving without due care and leaving the scene of an accident. Commissioner Grant Stevens says his family has received a letter of apology from the accused.
On behalf of our family, we'd just like to acknowledge that Dhiren has taken responsibility for his actions that saw us lose our son Charlie.
South Australia is scrapping stamp duty for some first home buyers. The change has been announced ahead of tomorrow's state budget, but will be limited to purchases of new homes or vacant blocks. Let's have a look at the global markets and the futures trending down. The Dow ended the day up and the Aussie dollar is sitting at 66.5 US cents.
And now for something completely different, because today is apparently the day the bears at Oakland Zoo in California have their picnic. Keepers, as you can see, use the annual bear camp to underscore the importance of outdoor safety, with the most common encounters between bears and humans involving things like rubbish and food, and that looks like a campsite.
It does. They can get into so much trouble, yes.